We're here in the Rolex Kentucky Interview Lounge with Lynn Symansky and Erin Sylvester. Girls, you're back here at Rolex, and both of you obviously have been here before. Lynn, you're on a new mount this time. Donner, who will make his debut at Rolex Kentucky. And walk us through some of the preparations that you guys have been through this season to get here. Lynn, first with you.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an unplanned spring season, with a little injury that put me out, but the horses had a really good lead up until this event, and he's feeling fit, probably a bit fitter than I'd like him to. And you know, the preparation over the last few days, we got here Monday, giving us enough time to kind of get settled in. Rode him this morning and actually gave him a little bit of a jump because he's been pretty tight and tense, and that seems to loosen him up, so hopefully that works to my favor this afternoon.
Well, Erin, so much prep goes into these shows, and I think what a lot of people may or may not know is we all think about how you do here at Rolex, but what about all the months training and everything that it takes to get here? Every horse and rider that are here in Kentucky have worked hard to get here. So some things that you guys have done with No Boundaries, you obviously been very successful together last season and coming here, finishing 13th in your Rolex debut.
Yeah, it's definitely a long run to get here. He came back into work after Burley in mid-October, and he's been going since then. We've had a good spring lead-up. Lynn and I have run the horses at the same event, starting with Pine Top and then Southern Pines in the Fork. And you really have to be quite careful about how you work the horse, run the horse, jump every single time out to make sure you're preparing them correctly for this event. I've been quite careful about the speed that I run him this whole spring because I want him to peak here, and that has been difficult at times because he's a very bold horse, so he's tough to ride stuff. But I'm really excited to be back here. After Burley, I wasn't sure what my spring season would bring, but it's great to be here once again on the same horse. He's awesome.
Well, we've talked a lot. There's a lot of newbies here this year who've never been to a four-star event, and both of you obviously have competed at 4 stars. You've both ridden here before, and so coming back here and kind of riding here again after you've done it in the past, how is that different, or how do you kind of take away from what's happened before and say, okay, I'm going to be okay in those gallop lanes, or you know, what are things that maybe surprised you the first time, or being here before at 4-star events, and things you do different, or you know, in response to what's happened in the past, changed, or looking forward to?
Yeah, I think it's good and bad. You know, the first time you come, you don't really quite know what to expect, so you don't have enough time to think about everything. You get a little overwhelmed with everything. So, you know, and to my advantage now, I know a little more what I need to be thinking about. But then because of that, you tend to start overthinking everything. But I am enjoying the process a bit more and taking it all in, because your eyeballs are so big the first time you come here. You don't have enough time to think about anything, really.
Yeah, I'd say the same. The first time you come, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing here last year, and I just would like follow Philip and Boyd around and just ask them so many questions. And it was funny leading up this year. I think I was more nervous than I was last year because I know what to expect in a weird way. But now that I'm here, I think I feel better than I did being here last year, not knowing what I was doing. I feel more comfortable about how much I need to be riding my horse because he's crazy. So I'm riding him a lot. And, you know, I know how many times I need to walk the course and how to feel about looking at the jumps because they're gigantic. And every time you walk, it gets feeling better. So yeah.
For cross country, I have a lot of superstitions when I ride. I know that a lot of riders do. Is there anything that you guys kind of do the same every time? I think when you come to a 4-star event, one of the important parts is sticking to your plan and staying with what you normally do. So, you know, are you superstitious? Are there things before different rides you always do the same? Are there, you know, things that you wish you did the same?
Yeah, I don't like to wear any new equipment, even if it just means I put it on a different horse and ride it in. I don't like to wear new equipment. Before my nerves turn into getting a little sleepy, so I tend to actually take a nap like an hour before I get on. And I'm walking up to this start box and I'm yawning, and everybody passes me and thinks I'm
Who
really...
takes a nap right before cross country? Most people are in there panicking. Lynn Symansky, you'll find her folks sleeping in her tack room.
Usually in the tack trunk, actually. I have a thing where I go through the course and I do all the jumps forward and then backwards as well. It's just a little mental thing to know I know exactly what.
I don't do the jumps backwards.
And then so I go through that, and then you go through and think about, you just do the course the first time, then think about how you're giving the ride to each fence, and you go through your minute markers on the course as well. But I mean, that's my own little. I don't suggest counting the jumps backwards for everybody.
Well, the two of you are two out of just a handful of riders here at Rolex who've actually graduated from college, so maybe that helps Lynn, that she has a little bit of a higher education level than some of the other riders, and puts them to use counting backwards over the cross-country fences.
Exactly.
What about you, Erin?
Superstitions. I'm not sure. The one superstition that I have, and it's not as much from experience, but a little bit. I really don't like to be interviewed before cross country, so please don't interview me.
Okay.
And it's hard for me to ride later in a group, which is what I'm going to be doing on Saturday. Last year, I rode at the perfect time. I was the 20th horse out of the box, and there was chaos on course before I went, but I was warming up and I just turned it off. And this year I know that I'm going to rely on that morning to walk again and watch how things are riding, and I'm going to watch the different combinations, but try and turn off some of the riding a bit, if that makes sense, because I think if you watch and analyze too much, then you change your plan, and I have a certain plan for my horse, as every rider does, and you just have to stick with the plan that you have.
All right, well, I thought you guys were going to give us some good ones, like lucky underwear, lucky socks, nothing like that.
I do have one. I don't like to wear two of the same socks.
Okay.
And I like to call it a superstition, but it's actually because I never fold my laundry.
You can't find the other sock.
I mean, I just work out of a pile, and you need two socks every morning, and so that's what I have.
All right, perfect. Well, between the two of you, there's a lot of interesting things probably going on back at the barn. Lynn's over there sleeping. We got Erin going through her sock pile in the morning, grabbing two random things or whatever maybe she brought in her suitcase on this trip. But Derek's course and thoughts on the cross country. You guys obviously have walked it a little bit now, but being here in Kentucky and all the environment, how that plays into the cross country, and maybe your plan, Lynn, with you saying that Donner, isn't really too big on loud noise, and there's a lot of clapping at the head of the lake and things like that. So a game plan that pertains to his specific needs.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to go out there and attack it. I had a good trial run with that at the Pan Ams. There was a lot of hooting and hollering and really excited crowds and music going on. And actually, when you have so many crowds, they seem to not notice it as much. I struggle more with a long gallop and then a crowd that comes up, or just a few people. So, when it's a sea of people, you as well as the horse, I think, don't notice it as much as you think you would.
Yeah, I agree. I found that actually I was quite worried when I got on course last year, because he lit up in the dressage, and I've never experienced that before, and it literally was the extended walk. He looked up and he saw the stands, and going crazy. So I was really concerned when I went out on course that he was going to be scared of moving people, because he's special, and he ended up not noticing it at all. And he's a real cross-country horse, so I think that the fences and the crowds were just enough to wake him up and back him off, because it was the easiest he ever was for me to ride. So I don't think that the crowds end up bothering the horses that much.
All right, well, both of you obviously are two, as I mentioned before, two of our college-educated riders. There aren't a ton in the group we have before us this weekend. Obviously very great riders, but not college-educated ones per se. Both of you have degrees, and if you weren't going to be riding. One of the questions that we got on Twitter, and you can hashtag RK3DE interview to ask your questions to these riders as well. But one of the questions that we got for you girls was, if you weren't a rider, then what would be your profession?
I always wanted to be a singer-songwriter dancer, but I can't sing. That didn't work out very well for me. Probably lawyer, actually. I took a year off after college just to go to Kentucky once and do the horses for a year, and that turned into a very extended hiatus. I don't know what it says about us going to college and then deciding to go into horses. I don't know if that's smart or not. Maybe we didn't learn anything in college. But I would probably actually be a lawyer.
I majored in international relations and specialized in Latin American studies. So when I was going through school, I studied abroad a bit, and I think I would have followed some sort of path of development with South American countries. But I really have no idea, because I had riding set in my mind, and my parents basically said they'd cut me off when I graduated high school if I didn't go to college.
So you chose Latin American studies because you like the men's accents, or?
The accents,
honestly,
right. Good men to talk to, good accents. Latin American studies, fall back. I can travel abroad.
Yeah, I guess.
How do your parents feel now?
They've always been so supportive. They're my biggest fans, and they're very proud of how far I've come. But they're also really realistic, and I think that I think for any aspiring young riders out there, I would strongly suggest going to college. It's not only a plan to fall back on if something goes wrong, because things go wrong in riding, but I learned a lot while I was at college, just about myself, and having a great group of friends and studying abroad. And you miss that when you skip from high school and go straight into professional riding.
Did you ride through that process of college?
I did. I just I had one horse for 2 years and 2 horses for 2 years, and I was really lucky. I got to board at Phillips and ride with him, and then that turned into riding with Boyd. So I am very, very lucky for the way that I was able to do it.
All right, well, we'll talk about your horses a little bit. No Boundaries and Donner, two very special horses, but every horse has some quirks about them. And Lynn, we obviously have talked about him being very sound sensitive. If you're here at Rolex and you're watching this weekend, Lynn would probably really appreciate it if you kept the applause to a minimum in the rings, especially when she's getting ready to go in that dressage ring later on. But anything else that kind of is unique about him, or his personality in the barn?
Yeah, he's actually a really sweet horse. He's insecure though, which is a lot of things panic him and he doesn't know where to go. So my pre-ritual before I compete, especially dressage, is we sit there and we just lightly stroke his head like this for half an hour, and it just puts him to sleep. Just anything to kind of calm him down. But he loves just being in your lap and
both of you guys just sleep a lot.
Yeah, I guess so. We're very lazy.
Match made in heaven. Before we just sleep all the time. Does he also sleep before cross country?
He does like his nap time, actually. Must be his nerves too.
I can't really think of anything specific. He's a very weird horse. Just weird. He's a bit insecure as well. Like he just has funny quirks. When he's very fit, he gets wound up about the smallest things. He's terrible to trailer by himself. He actually, surprisingly, coming to Kentucky, I swear to God, I knew where he was going, because he loaded and he was very quiet shipping the whole time, which is not normal. I often have to take our little pony Rosie with me to lessons and stuff. He's embarrassing. What else? He's scared of moving people, but it only frightens him in the dressage, not cross country. I guess we're running.
Nobody moved.
Yeah, in the dressage, please don't move. And if we blow a movement, please don't gasp, because that sets him off even more. Yeah, so that's about it. He's funny, but he is such a sweet horse, and I have a really special partnership with him, and I feel so lucky to have him.
Great tips for watching these two riders.
Yeah.
We often, I think when you're choosing a new horse too, sometimes you have no idea what it's going to amount to. And one of the young horses that I was riding through the process, my coach and people were like, oh, that's not going to go above probably preliminary. Oh, maybe it will. Maybe it will. Oh, I think it'll go advanced.
About my horse until he did a 2-star. Like, he was so ordinary. He'd have about 5 down in the middle of the show jumping. It's been trailing me my whole life.
Still haunting you, those penalties on that record at novice.
Go back and
well, when you guys kind of picked out these horses or your partnership started, what was that process like? And, you know, did you, for example, did you see No Boundaries in a field and think, that's my guy?
No, I didn't like him at all. I'm
you
not
must
kidding.
speak Latin American. No.
I didn't like him. My first horse that I rode advanced on died very suddenly, and I picked up No Boundaries. His bar name is Bucky, which is funny because he loves fun. I picked him up as a resale project, and somebody found him in Massachusetts, and he had tried dressage, show jumping, and fox hunting, and he didn't work in any of them. So let's try playing. So I rode him, and he seemed like he moved nice enough on the flat, and he's had a good jump on him. It came out like 1 in every 6 jumps. But I got him fairly cheap, so I just took him as a project and was going to maybe resell him. And the more I rode him, I realized I couldn't resell him because it was really difficult to ride. And I didn't believe in him basically until like 2 years ago. I thought he was ordinary, kind of stupid, and he's become, the more I've put in front of him and the more I've challenged him, he's really stepped up. So.
Well, I think Clean Goes at 4 stars are certainly a job well done, and you can like him now for that.
I like him now.
All right. And what about Donner, his road to getting here?
Yeah, I got a call from a friend on him that he was quite an athletic special horse, and woman who had him, it just wasn't quite the right combination, but it found him and just thought he was such a nice stamp of a horse. And I remember when I first saw him, another barn thing is he really likes to snort a lot. So I went to see him, and he was standing in the cross ties and was just snorting and going left and right, and he was so beautiful. And I saw him, and I was like, this is my perfect horse, because back then I was a little younger and really drawn to quirky, special horses. I've gotten a little smarter over the years that I like him a little less special, but he was really athletic, and he was a lovely type, really nicely put together. Not a fantastic mover, but had a nice canter, and figured the trot would come, and it's still coming, waiting for it to continue to come. And it took a while to form a partnership with him because he was just so untrusting, and when he doesn't get something, he just runs away in a panic. So he, again, is just a great partnership horse. I think it's good that we kind of found each other, because I think he needed one person to really kind of be his person and show him the way, whether it was me or somebody else. But I think he would have gotten a little lost running through, being 1 out of 100 horses in a program. So I feel very fortunate to have formed the relationship I do with him, and I trust him now with everything.
Well, this relationship very important here for any rider in horse combination, but Lynn is sporting a special little claw this weekend.
It's a modified claw now.
We'll go ahead and ask the question for all the spectators who are wondering, what is that thing on her hand? And can you just tell everyone at home kind of a little bit why you're wearing this special jewelry?
I'm now going on 6 weeks since I spiral fractured my pinky off, and the choice was to pin it and make it a little more stable, but I wouldn't be able to ride until a week ago, so decided to keep it in this claw. It was attached to my 4th finger, so I'd been riding with just these 2 fingers, but last week I went and they said I was okay to put the smaller one on, so I feel so free now that I have my 4th finger back again. And it's still not fully healed, so it's just still keeping it stable, but I'm hoping that we don't take any big hard knocks. But I was a little worried after running at the fork, which is these 2 fingers. It's very hard to grab the reins back after a drop, and there are some big drops out here. So I'm this still gets in the way, but I'm very glad to have my 4th finger back. We're reunited.
And are there things on the course, specific complexes, having been here last year, obviously the course very different this year, but specific complexes and just the one time you've walked so far that kind of stand out to you, or specific areas on the course that you think will be problematic for riders?
I think it's tough for me to tell that so Coffin Complex stands out to me. There are a few spots in the course last year where I relied on my horse to be smart, and I think I could have ridden a bit better. The Coffin was one spot. There was a fairly long distance riding out to the Chevron, and he added a step there and jumped Chevron that most horses wouldn't have. So walking that this year, again, it seems like a forward distance riding out to the corner, so I'll definitely be looking to for their advice there. The first water has been changed, and I think it's a more difficult line to ride than we had last year, and you jump in over some big airy rails. So for me, I'm definitely going to have an aggressive plan there. But beyond that, I think the course looks good. The interesting thing is coming off of Burley, the course just looks like it will ride more forward than Burley did. The course over there didn't give you many let-up fences. Like from complex to complex, you maybe get one gallop jump, and it's a massive gallop jump off a turn, down a hill, like up on top of a mountain. And he dropped the bit at like the 3rd minute of the course, and I have never had that feeling before. I was scrubbing so hard for the next 9 minutes. So, you know, to me, like that looks inviting, but it's still a 4-star course, and the jumps are massive, and it follows a different track, and it's longer this year, so I think it will still definitely be quite hard to get around there.
Well, no, nothing stands out because I actually haven't walked around yet. I had to ride my horse so many times yesterday that, and I'm also battling a little bit of a back issue too, that I did not make it around, and today I just really wanted to focus on giving him the proper preparation for my dressage test at the end of the day. So I will walk around this afternoon once I'm done, and then I will have all day Friday and then Saturday morning as well. So I'm excited. I've talked to quite a few riders, and I guess I kind of know what to expect now, so my own spin on it.
Anything in the barns that's kind of, you know, the buzz around the barns, anything standing out so far over there?
Most of what I've heard is some of the distances seem to walk a little funny. I think it's funny as riders when we walk something that you know, walks a little long or a little short. As course designers are very smart, and Dick's great, and he knows what he's doing. So I think, you know, we have to trust what he's asking in those questions, and also people saying that it's long. When you walk it, it feels like it walks long, and it is a little longer than expected. So happy to be on the horse I'm on, hopefully, by the end of the course, because he's a great running thoroughbred.
Absolutely, and that stamina is so important. Obviously, it's a very, very long way around these courses, and not only for the horses, but for you guys as riders too. Is there anything that prep-wise you do, you know, aside, we know Alison Springer is a huge yogi, anything you guys do aside from riding every day to kind of keep your fitness levels up and help them get around these long courses?
I should do more now, so I hate it when people ask me this. I ride a lot of horses every day. Yeah, and you know, I mean, anywhere from 8 to 14, and by the end of the teaching, you're just so tired at the end of the day. I do try and do a lot of stretching. I have lower back issues, so I've tried yoga, but I'm really competitive, and I found myself getting hurt in yoga because I would try and do better than everybody else. Pilates actually works a little better for me, but no, I found this past year, just with business and stuff, I've been so busy on the horses that I've sat on that I haven't really had time to do much of anything else. But I mean, just being smart about what you eat, which I try to do, and stretching a lot, I think really helps for everybody.
I do the same. I have a lot of horses to ride, so that keeps me quite busy and definitely keeps me fit. I also run as often as I can, and it's spotty. A lot of the time I have very long days, and when I can find an hour here and there to run, I really enjoy that. And I have a client that I try to run with, and she's a triathlon runner, so she pushes me a lot, which is great. But again, it's time constrictive, so I try to do it when I can, but it's not super regular.
Any vendor things, or there's so much shopping here and other things to do also besides just riding when you guys get a few minute break to breathe, but anything about coming to Rolex Kentucky and this venue that stands out to you, that's a favorite of yours, that you are excited to check out this year?
I like the alcohol tent right in front of us here.
There's a new bar up here in the trade fair this year if you haven't seen it, so that would be what Lynn's referring to. It's located right next to our tent right here, so you can grab a cocktail and then come chat with riders.
No, I like to make it to the apparel shop and get everybody back home and supporters a little token from Kentucky. I hit up the Bit of Britain tent already and left an open card because, of course, there's like last minute panic with stuff little things that you don't have. You think you have a lot more time when you come here on Monday, but you really don't have any time at all to walk around. I came last year and wasn't riding, and I really enjoyed actually being able to walk into all the shops and check it out because, I mean, you feel like it's a different world up here than back in the party. You get a lot of time to come up here.
I think what I enjoy the most about this event is how well sponsored and attended it is. It's really inspiring running around the cross country and seeing how many people are watching you and cheering you on, and we don't get that anywhere else. And so to me, that's really, really awesome. Obviously, love the trade fair and don't have any time to get up here. You know, like the day that you would have time is Tuesday and nothing's open, and then once, you know, Wednesday morning rolls around and you have the briefing and then the jog, like we're rolling now, and the weekend's gonna go by really fast.
All right, and just kind of with this field, obviously William Fox Pitt, a lot of heavy hitters here. Is there a rider coming up that inspired you, or one here that you just like riding alongside with, or you know, anything along those lines? A person that's been influential to you in getting to this point?
Yeah, not anyone in particular. I like to look at other people around my age and see how they're doing things. You know, and you know, my role models are the ones that have been at this a lot longer than us and the veterans here. But I like to communicate and talk to some of my peers, like Erin and Christian Schmalzi and Jenny Brannigan and Megan O'Donoghue, and just it's actually our aisle. We have a fun aisle.
We do have a fun.
And Caitlin, yeah, and just see how everybody else is doing it, because you're all kind of in the same boat, and I think it's helpful to bounce ideas off each other, you know, knowing where each other are coming from.
I might try the jumping before dressage tomorrow morning. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I did.
Brannigan was saying yesterday how she felt like all her friends were here.
Yeah.
And they're all competing together. You guys are talking about your aisle, but it's everybody you know and a lot of familiarity here. And when you went overseas, did you feel a little more of an outcast, or you know, a lot more accents over there? What was kind of going through your mind as opposed to competing here in Kentucky?
I didn't feel so much like an outcast. The U.S. riders there, you know, made a really great team. We were obviously all stable together. Sinead and Allison and Will were there, and they had already been over in Europe for, I don't know, 6 weeks or something at that point, maybe longer. And they were, each one of them was like so great to me. Like, I'd have this lost puppy dog look on my face, and they were like, come on, we need to go do this. And so they were really helpful. I didn't get like a warm, fuzzy feel from the European riders, but we were in the same stabling as them, and it's really inspiring to be like in those warm-ups and riding next to William and Andrew Nicholson and Mark Todd, and it's like, that is so cool. I was probably a bit too starstruck. Like, I probably should have been focusing on my horse a little bit more. But yeah, it was definitely different over there. The one thing that's neat this year is I think that it's a very young field.
best of luck. And you can check back in with these girls throughout the weekend on Twitter and on our Facebook. Not before cross country, interview-wise, but you'll be able to track what all the riders are up to online, and we look very, very forward to watching both of you go. Good luck.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.